Ever wonder how a personal message about faith can grow into a massive global movement aiming to reach 500 million people? Well, today we're going to find out. We're breaking down a document called Healing and Forgiveness, and we're going to trace its journey from a core spiritual idea all the way to a highly organized worldwide campaign. Let's get into it. Right off the bat, the document sets a really powerful stage. The theme for the entire month is supernatural healings and miracles. Now, this isn't just a title, it's a strategic move. It gets the reader's mind focused on the idea of the extraordinary, priming them for the message that's about to come. So before we can really dig into the message itself, we kind of have to look at the package it comes in. Let's start by figuring out what this document actually is and who's behind it. Okay, so within that big, broad theme of miracles, the focus for this specific day gets super narrow: healing and forgiveness. The title itself is basically the whole argument in a nutshell. It's suggesting that these two things aren't just connected, they're totally inseparable. And the message is delivered by God's servant, David F. Noefelu. That title, God's servant, is super important here. It's not just an introduction, it's like a credential. It immediately sets up a sense of spiritual authority, framing the whole text not as just an opinion, but as something divinely inspired. All right, now let's get to the heart of it all, the central teaching of this document. This is where we see exactly how the case is built for linking the spiritual act of forgiving someone with the physical act of being healed. The entire argument really hinges on this single piece of scripture. But the key detail isn't just what Jesus says, it's the order he says it in. He forgives the man's sins first, before he actually heals his paralysis. The whole document's logic is built on the importance of that sequence. So, this is the core logic broken down. Sin is presented as the root cause of problems, both spiritual and physical. And because of that, forgiveness becomes the solution. It's like the key you have to turn to unlock the door to healing, not just for your soul, but for your body too. So here it is, the main takeaway. Divine healing isn't something you just sit back and wait for. The document frames it as an active two-part process. To get healed, you first have to ask for forgiveness for yourself, and then, this is the crucial part, you have to actively give forgiveness to others. Okay, so let's see how this goes from being a big theological idea to a practical how-to guide. The document doesn't just explain a concept. It gives the reader a direct call to action with really clear instructions to follow. And here's the playbook, laid out in 4 simple steps. Notice the flow here. It starts with your own internal work, then it moves to your relationship with God, and then it goes outward to your relationships with other people. It's only after you've done those first 3 things that you get to the final step, asking for your own healing. It's presented as a sequence you have to follow. And his quote from a prayer included in the document really reinforces those steps. The language is so specific. It frames bitterness and unforgiveness not just as feelings, but as actual obstacles, things that are hindering or blocking healing. The prayer is then positioned as the tool you use to clear those blockages away. Okay, so the message begins with a really personal, internal journey. But it definitely doesn't stop there. In this last section, we're going to see how this daily message also works as a recruiting tool to build a much, much bigger global organization. And the ambition of that organization is crystal clear right in its mission title. This isn't some vague goal. It's a huge, global vision with a very specific, very concrete number attached to it. That kind of specificity can be a really powerful motivator. Let's just look at that number for a second. 500 million. By putting it up on the screen all by itself, stripping away everything else, you're forced to just grapple with the enormous scale of this goal. It's a communication tactic that makes an abstract idea feel really tangible and just huge. So how in the world do you get 500 million people involved in something? Well, one way is you give them options. The document lays out 3 different ways to join. You can be a prayer partner, a volunteer missionary, or a kingdom investor. This is a classic strategy, really. You create different levels of commitment, so it's easier for anyone to find a way to get involved. And here's the formal organization behind the whole mission. Grounding this message in a registered organization with a real physical address in Lagos, Nigeria, that's a critical step. It takes the mission from just being an idea and turns it into a concrete, real-world operation. And this is how they coordinate that global operation. By listing out specific prayer times for people in Nigeria, the US, the UK, India, and South Africa, it shows a pretty sophisticated level of organization. It's a deliberate way to make a worldwide community feel united through doing something together at the same time. And to keep that global community connected, they use a whole range of modern digital tools. They're on intimate platforms like WhatsApp and Telegram for direct community building, but also on huge broadcast channels like Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to get the word out. It's a really well-rounded digital strategy. So we've basically traced a path from a single Bible verse to a personal action plan, and then all the way to a call to join a global mission with a goal of 500 million people, which kind of leaves us with this final question to chew on. How does the very structure of a message, this careful journey from a personal inner belief to a collective global action, actually drive its overall impact?